Ever since Dana Dimmel was introduced as UTEP's new head coach last winter, the Miners have insisted that 2018 would be different than the winless 2017 campaign. Tonight at the Sun Bowl, UTEP got its first chance to prove it as they opened the Dimmel era against FCS opponent Northern Arizona. Now check this out. The Miners brought the old mine shaft entrance back, coming down out of the crowd. And then this was also pretty cool. Our very own Andy Morgan on the call on the game on ESPN3. Congrats to him if you were listening. That's the familiar voice you heard. Ryan Metz got the start for UTEP. His first pass of the game, not what he wanted. Intercepted by the Lumberjacks, and they are in business. They would capitalize a few plays later. This is Corey Young on the 1-yard run, diving across. Lumberjacks up 7-0. Second quarter, they're looking for more. Case Cookus going deep down the middle. Check this out. Juggling catch by Emmanuel Butler, and he would go the distance and go for speed. 84 yards to the crib. Lumberjacks out to a 17-0 lead. UTEP, like that kid, looking in the wrong direction for a victory. But here they come. Late second quarter, this is Quadrez Wadley providing a little bit of a spark. 32 yards for the touchdown. The Miners would add a field goal late, so they trailed 17-10 at halftime, and the fans were loving it. Early third, Cookus to Butler, though. This one, the second time that they would link up for a touchdown on the day. That's a two-score game again, and then Miners driving, but Loxley going to be intercepted by Cameron Johnson, and he would return this a long, long ways, living a teenage dream. At least he thought so. He thought he was going back for 6, but they eventually get him at the 8-yard line, but that was basically the game. Joe Logan on the next play ices it with an 8-yard touchdown. At least tonight, unfortunately, the Dimmel era looked a lot like last year. The Miners fall 30-10 to Northern Arizona, so the losing streak is now at 13.
This isn't what I expected. This isn't what I expected to see. I knew they'd be a good team. I knew they'd be a tough test for us. There was no doubt in my mind that they'd be a difficult test for us. And I knew that just because, they're a good football team, and we knew that, and there's no doubt about that. So, but this is what I expected. I expected, us to, play better than what we did.
This loss definitely won't define us at all. We definitely going to turn up the tempo, turn up the heat in practice, and I told them after the game, practice week going to be held this week.
The Miners had 3 turnovers in this one. Northern Arizona scored off of all of them. The road really gets tougher now for UTEP. They are at UNLV next week. That's a 7 p.m. kickoff. And as we said, News Channel 9's Andy Morgan on the call tonight on ESPN3. Andy, tough outing for the Miners in the opener. From your vantage point, high above the field, where'd things go wrong?
They didn't start fast, Colin, and that was a key to this football game. They were down 17-0 before they could even really blink. Now they made it a little bit of a comeback with those 2 scores at the end of the second quarter, but when they came out for the second half, the offense couldn't do much of anything. And you heard head coach Dana Dimmel refer to his expectations. His expectations were this team was going to compete for a win in this game. They showed glimpses, but it didn't happen. Ultimately, UTEP falling to 0-1 on the season, and the nation's longest losing streak extends to 13 games. The biggest question coming into the game was who would start at quarterback. They went with the 2-quarterback system. Ryan Metz got the start. He was ultimately ineffective. He gave way to Kai Loxley. Kai Loxley showed that he could make plays both with his arm as well as his feet. Dimmel told us after the game if he was to make a decision on who would start next week's game against UNLV, that's UTEP's next opponent, it would be Kai Loxley that would start that game. Now, some other tough news coming down at the end of this one, really before kickoff even happened. Darren Gatewood, center, really the anchor of this offensive line, he was a late scratch. We found out that he tore his ACL in practice. He is out for the season, so a tough blow to this UTEP offensive line. The Miners are next 2 games, they're away at UNLV, at Tennessee, before they return home for the Battle of I-10 against New Mexico State. We're live at the Sun Bowl tonight. Andy Morgan, News Channel 9 Sports.
All right, thanks, Andy. Yeah, that is a really big loss, losing Gatewood for the rest of the season.